Hello, my name is Benjamin Michael Smith and I'm a filmmaker and performer based here in the Northeast. As early as I can remember, I felt a huge connection to the arts. In particular, it was always film, theatre and music, and I think it was always inevitable, not just for me but everyone who knew us at the time, was that one day I was going to make the leap from being just an observer to being a creator. Certainly when I was growing up in the Northeast, I was very limited to what I could do to facilitate these pursuits. However, around the year of 2010, I found Arts Award. My school didn't offer Arts Award at the time, but luckily my local arts centre, The Cave in South Shields, which sadly no longer exists anymore, that did offer it, and I secured my Bronze Arts Award, and it was just a wonderful experience just to be in a room full of like-minded people, and it made my creative world feel less small. Back then, and even to a certain extent now, but particularly back then, I did struggle socially, and I found it very difficult to kind of communicate in the traditional sense. So it was a kind of light bulb moment for me when I realised that, oh, you can use the arts to do this. It allowed me to share thoughts and feelings, and I also found, and I still do to this day, that it's such a healthy way of releasing tension and aggression that you might have bottled up inside you. There's nothing more gratifying than grabbing a camera or a paintbrush or getting on a stage and putting all that into a project, a performance, and then looking back at that work and just almost reflecting back on what you felt before you made it. It can seem very daunting when you're young, especially when you're trying to figure out who you are. You're very unsure of yourself, and the idea of making your own distinctive voice can seem a really daunting task. If I was to give advice to any young artist, I would say be inspired by everything and everyone, but always strive to have your own voice, because that will set you apart from everyone else. One of the projects that I worked on in the latter half of 2021 was my work with Culture Bridge Northeast. This involved going into schools in the local area and working with the young people, whether they were working on arts awards or showcasing their student voice. It was so gratifying for me to work with these students and to see them at such a pivotal age in their creativity, just kind of figuring out who they are. It's just nice to see new creative voices in the world. I was so inspired, and it was so incredibly beneficial in my practice. I just think back to when I was that age, and I think how beneficial it would have been for me to have someone come in from the industry and just to tell us, it's all right, this is all possible, you can forge your own path in this industry. I truly believe that using the arts for young people just takes the pressure off. I think if you were to approach any kind of creative person and say, what do you think about this? There can be a bit of, I don't know, because they find it difficult to articulate a little bit. Whereas if you would put a camera in the hand, put a paintbrush in the hand, set them on a stage and say, show me what you think about this, then it can be a lot more liberating for them. And these thoughts and emotions, and like I mentioned before, the inner aggression, all of that gets let out in such a genuine way, and it's something really special. So for me to facilitate these ideas would be not only, I think, beneficial for the students, but incredibly beneficial for myself as well. That's why I would love to work with more schools in the Northeast in the near future. I feel there are so many creative voices out there that truly need to be heard, and for me to play a part in that would be a huge privilege.